Hi, I'm Matthias. I'm a partner at Speedinvest running our focus fund Speedinvest X that Magda already introduced very well, and Jeroen also earlier. Very happy to be here with Philipp, who is actually the VP expansion at our portfolio company Tier Mobility. We were one of the first investors, and very happy to be one of the first investors in Tier. Invested about a year ago when the company was actually incorporated, so has only been around for a year right now, and I think launched in very good. I think standing is healthier. No, the company only launched in October last year for the first time and has seen like tremendous growth, and yeah, we want to dig into that a little bit. Together with Philipp and understanding better how Tier grew so fast and how they got where they are today. So maybe to kick it off, you can say a few words about yourself, introduce yourself, and then we start with some questions and also open it up later for questions from the audience.
We'll do so. Thank you, Matthias. Well, actually, I have to say that this picture is exactly 1 year ago. And because this was the first meeting that we met all in Berlin. We were, at that point of time, we were five people. But maybe starting at the beginning. Philipp, my name, I'm 39 years old. Spent almost all my career, all my life in consumer electronics retail. I was working 17 years for the company MediaMarkt. I know Poland. In Poland we are, or actually the company MediaMarkt is present, but also in 15, 16 other European countries. After that, I was working for 1 year with Obi, also present in Poland, also present in other European countries, DIY chain. And then Lawrence, the founder of Tier Mobility, called me last year in August after he sold his former company. He came back after 1.5 years of trip around the world, surfing around the world. Told me we know each other from before because we had a business relationship from MediaMarkt with his former company. And he said, well, everything worked out with us. I have a new project. I'm hungry again. I saw a lot of things in the world. I want to change urban mobility for good. And I want to rent e-scooters. Do you want to run my expansion? And then 2 weeks later, picture. And as actually, I'm always saying I'm a first employee, I'm a first hire. Actually, I'm the second one. But the first one was an intern, so I don't know if that counts. So I'm always claiming to be the first hire of the team. And yeah, the rest is history, and I think we're going to talk now about the rest.
You were certainly the first person I spoke to. I remember still in the hiring process.
Yeah. I think you were in Finland, and the connection was not so good that we talked about. So we had to finish the talk, and I said, "Whoa, was that now okay or not? Because was it my fault the connection was not so good?" But in the end, it worked out.
No, I think it was totally fine, and it's really, really great to have you on board at Tier. So, yeah, but maybe speaking about this growth, I think now, in less than a year since launch, you are in 39 cities. I think it's almost changing on a daily basis, so it's a bit hard for me to follow, even as an investor. But it would be great to understand a little bit better on how you got to this broad coverage and growing so quickly, scaling so quickly in such a short time. So if you could share a little bit of insights from your own expansion playbook, that would be great.
Yeah, I also had to laugh because sometimes it sounds also arrogant when I say, well, we have 39 cities now, but I also have to think about, is it really 39 or more or less? That's not because we are running really so fast, but it's also honest that we sometimes close also markets, that we pause markets due to several reasons. But yes, it's true, currently we are in 10 countries and in 39 cities. Talking about quick expansion, coming from the old world, which I already mentioned in MediaMarkt, and when I got first interview with Lawrence, with the founder, he asked me, how was expansion at MediaMarkt? And I said, well, yeah, it takes normally 6 months until we open one store, because you have the pre-analysis, then you have the rental contract negotiation and so on. And he said, 6 months. Let's see if we can do that with tier, because actually we want to expand fast, and we want to be in as many cities as possible to do the footprint there. And said, okay, let's see how fast we can do that. And then my first estimation was, okay, maybe we can do it in 4 weeks or in 6 weeks or so. And in the meantime, currently with the existing playbook that you mentioned, Matthias, because of automation of processes, because using obviously the playbooks, the checklists that we have, we were able to scale the expansion team. Currently, we're able to launch a city within 1 week. So when we decide today, we want to launch next week, or we want to launch somewhere, we made it already in 1 week, due to automation, checklists, and scaling of the people, obviously.
But is it only on, I guess you have also made, like, let's say some mistakes along the way on this one. And I also remember when you started, obviously that playbook was not in place. So you learned it along the way and probably made a lot of mistakes along the way. So I'm wondering what mistakes did you make that led you to this kind of playbook, being able to launch a city in a week's time?
I'm not sure if it's the right word that we made mistakes. We made a lot of things wrong, and we could have been doing better. Looking back, I think it was okay and right that we took each and every point of time this decision. Obviously, maybe when it comes to the point, should we expand fast? Should we do the land grabbing to have a footprint as early as possible, even without having structures in place? Even without having the back office in place. We don't know how to do the invoices. We don't have a hiring process in place. I heard it before already that when you grow fast as well, maybe you don't have the structure of hiring. You cannot really pay the employees in the right way. So maybe you can consider this as a mistake, or as things which were not running well or running smoothly. But looking back, I think at that point of time it was the right decision to do the land grabbing, to be present in as many cities as possible, with a software which was actually a white label solution out of the shelf, with all the advantages and disadvantages that you have of a white label solution. We had the shabbiest scooter on earth, but we had one. So we wanted to be present. So can be called as mistakes, but I think
it was the right thing to do at the time.
At that point of time, it was the right thing to do. Yeah, but still, there were also kind of problems that we had when we were at city number 30 or something. We looked at the structure that we currently have. All my expansion team members were kind of interim ops and city managers in those cities, because we were growing so fast with the cities, but we were too slow in hiring the people to run these cities. That led to a situation where we had so many scooters broken. So we were losing market share, actually. We were losing rides, even though we were growing in cities. So we had also a point of time when we had to consolidate, when we said, okay, now, calm down. Hey, Philipp, stop your expansion for a moment. We had to consolidate, we had to clean up, and then we go back to speed. So
but I think it's important to see that moment and realize that, and then actually exactly do that, hire the people to repair the scooters, etc.
That was also learning that you also have to be, actually, you have to have the, let's say, the power and really the conviction to do that, because you have to see it. You have to realize that if you don't stop now, everything is going to explode. If you put more and more cities in, because everybody's eager to grow, everybody's eager to do more cities. We are proud, actually, in expansion to have yet another city launch, but then if you don't do it in a proper way, it's kind of exploding.
And how, so that is only possible if you actually monitor the numbers appropriately, because you need to realize that also in the first place.
Yeah, that is also, I don't know if that's if I've learned that, if somebody invented that before. I know from MediaMarkt, from the company before, retail is detail and e-tail is even more detail. Micromobility is so much detail, with nothing to compare with e-commerce, because I was in those worlds, let's say, and it's nothing to compare with that. You have to rely on the data. Well, there's always a nice saying which I state as well, kind of, if you take a decision without data, it's yet another opinion. And so you have to base your decisions where to grow, where to expand, where to put more cities in more scooters in an existing cities, and so on. You have to base on data, and data is the basis for everything.
Maybe on that note, how would you define then the target group, so to say, the target market of tier mobility? I'll let you have your coffee first.
It was at the right moment because I had to win some time to answer that question. Now, well, there may be, you could call it as a mistake or a misassumption, if you can call it like this, because we thought that our target group are commuters, the people that travel in the morning to work, either completely with a scooter from home to work, or from a scooter to the bus station or metro station, then taking the metro station, the typical last mile thing. This is the target group, and I don't want to say that this is then the 20-year-old man or the 35-year-old woman or the 50-year-old man or woman or whatever. But this is one of the target groups, let's say the commuters. And what we didn't expect actually, but what we see now, that people are also using our scooters just for fun. They're renting the scooters, especially at the weekend, just to cruise around, just to ride a scooter. And so it's coming from A to B, either for commuting, for work also, but also for fun. So we don't put our people in typical personas like this is the worker years old and man or woman. It's rather the commuters and people like having fun and enjoying the ride.
But do you think that will wear off, or do you think that will stay because it's right now it's maybe still something new, something exciting. At one point it's just standard, normal.
We see in our data that it's consistent. It's consistent that people are coming back, so are repeat users, so not only the ones traveling in the morning, but also traveling during the day, traveling at the weekend. So we see that this is consistent, but what's also a very important factor is the weather in our situation. So we think that traveling cruising around will go down by decreasing temperatures. Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting for me on this one actually is the way how I look at or interpret the numbers that I know, that actually the weather has less of an impact than what I would have thought. So looking at countries with worse weather than, for example, the north to the south, it doesn't have the impact that I would have expected.
With temperature, I agree.
Yeah.
With rain, I disagree. Yeah. so we see exactly the day after when we look at the numbers, how were the rides yesterday, and you have a drop compared to week over week from a week before, and you see, well, okay, must have been bad weather. Then you look in the data and you say, yeah, it was raining. It was a rainy day. Yeah.
Speaking about the target group, we also have to talk about competition because obviously it's a highly competitive market in not only in Europe but internationally by now. There's a couple of also well-funded players with great investors in there as well. How do you differentiate? How do you try to position yourself in a different way to the same target group, so to say, in the end? That's actually a very difficult question, which everybody as well in the cities, city government, authorities that we talk to ask ourselves. I'm always also talking about the internal USP, so internal differentiating factors, which maybe have an effect to the customers, but maybe an indirect effect, an indirect competitive advantage. And what I also don't like is talking what we're doing better than the competition. I just can say what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is we talk with the cities. I like the statement to say I don't go to a party where I'm not invited. So when we launch in a city, we launch in that city once we have the full approval and the backing of authorities in that city, in best case in cooperation with the public transport there. Because what we also say, we can only, and this is our claim, change mobility for good in a city when we are a part of the city.
And when we are not invited to that city, and when the city doesn't want us there to offer our service, actually we don't go there. So we go there when we are invited, when people want us. This is one thing that we actually claim to be our core value.
And I think you have corporations, at least in Germany, with I think quite an amount of cities already. Where
yeah,
like
to a handful exactly, where we have a co-branding, for example, in Munich or in Bonn. In Germany it's called Stadtwerke. I don't know the English
municipalities.
word. Yeah, exactly, municipalities, or with the public transport agency. This gives us also the advantage that it gives us reputation as well to the employees in the end, because if it's co-branded by the municipalities or by the public transport of that city, for the commuters or for the end consumers, it's kind of, this is a service provided by the city. It's not yet another startup, yet another American scooter company which is coming there. It's a service provided by the city. Yeah. This is something that we really put a focus on, to be part of the city, part of mobility in the city.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you want to touch up on it, but on this note, if you talk about how you do things differently internally, is maybe also the model of operation basically compared to maybe other players in the market. Has to do with perception as well, I think, to the public. Yeah,
exactly. But this is changing as well, because this is something that we learn as well. Our first USP when we started was competition at that point of time had a model with the juicers, with freelancers. So scooters were just placed on the street and left outside. And once they are empty, juicers or a community of freelancers will get a notification in the app. Well, you have to pick up that scooters, bring it to your home, charge it, and drop it again in the morning. This was the model, how it was founded in the States by Lime and Bird. We said we have to do something different because of several reasons. On one hand, we don't want to leave the scooters outside during the night due to several reasons, because of vandalism, because of potential theft, because of people riding maybe drunk. And then the major reason was we take them all into our proper warehouse and don't leave it to an unreliable community. Because by this we know on a scalable basis every scooter can be charged, will be charged in a proper way for the morning, and a special thing, it will be maintained, it will be repaired. Because obviously when the juicer picks a scooter at home, they don't fix the screws and fix maybe a handlebar and so on. So with that, we want to have maybe a longer lifetime, which we prove as well that we have a longer lifetime. And this is one of these indirect competitive advantages. A scooter is in a better shape for the customers, so customers might tend to use our scooter more than maybe the others.
This and probably is also a matter of public perception, I would say, in terms of seeing it, not seeing them lying around everywhere, or like freelancers driving around with tons of scooters and so on.
One thing as well, which might be as well interesting for the audience, which we get as a very, very interesting feedback by our investors and also by our potential new investors, is the word capital efficiency. Comparing with our competitors, and not only with Lime and Bird, also comparing with the several European competitors, we are not the ones having the most money. Other competitors have much more money than we do. But we still have a better footprint, and in terms of utilization and in terms of rights, we are at the same level or even above from them. So this is one thing that I really learned in the point of time. When you don't have, let's say, when you don't have money, when you have to look how to spend your money, you become creative. Exactly. And you think about a decision twice, 3, 4 times in how to spend that money. If you have enough money, you just do, you do more mistakes, and you don't care. And this is also something that we say that differentiates us maybe from competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about the public perception, regulation is also a big topic, because you touched upon working with municipalities and so on. How are you addressing this? How also do you address it from an expansion point of view, being in 10 countries, in almost 40 cities? and working together with all these local governments. What's your approach there?
What I underestimated at the beginning, that I'm rather the expansion, let's say it, rather the sales guy. And that was good for the beginning, or is always good at the beginning when we come to cities, come to potential partners to pitch our service, that we want to be present there with all our advantages, all our different factors to the competition. But we learned that we need to have really a proper strategy and a proper department with people in place about public policy, which would keep up the relationship after a launch, because then the problems are coming. Then the cities are complaining, why are the scooters standing around there? Why are they falling around? Why are they not parked properly? If I put my black and white standpoint, I would say, well, ask the consumers why they park the scooters not in a proper way, because in the end, if you rent a sixth car and you park the sixth rental car in a different place, you cannot blame sixth for wrongly parked cars. But other topic. But I think relationship with the cities and a strong and very, very close relationship with the cities with proper structures in place, for example,
so you have your own team,
public policy team, exactly, is crucial. We didn't have that at the beginning, but this is something that we learned as well. We have to have that in place.
Yeah. And then maybe coming back to that, I assume that team is also taking care of all this kind of public awareness, public perception, PR kind of topics.
We also have a
it's
different and separate PR team.
Yeah, okay, that's a separate extra.
Yeah, we have a different PR team. Maybe one number which we haven't mentioned. In 1 year, it's not only growing to 39 cities; it's growing to 350 people. Okay, where we currently are, and this was interesting hearing that before that. Even though I'm not a founder, but actually since I'm there at since day one, it's also interesting for me to see and to learn and to realize that we are not those 5 people anymore.
Yeah.
Communication lines are different with 350 people, and not only in one headquarter, but also in 39 different markets. You have to communicate differently. You have to have proper structure in place.
How do you align everyone then when it's so like remote almost and with the people on the ground?
2 things coming directly into mind. We have Slack. Guess almost everybody has Slack.
The cure to everything.
We have Slack where everybody's posting in. We have different channels there, obviously. We have we started every week. We have every 2 weeks an all-hands meeting where we do video conferences. So some people are in Berlin, in the headquarter, but the others are connected via Hangouts or via Zoom.
You are also in Munich, right? So you are not in Berlin in the headquarters.
Exactly. I'm traveling as well. Yeah, my headquarter is Europe.
You are probably traveling on a plane most of the time.
On a plane or on the train, actually. Actually, I prefer train when I'm traveling around Germany. I prefer train, but otherwise it's plane. Yeah.
And you also bring everyone together in one place on a regular basis?
We have a global summit, which we had done now 3. I think the first one was in January this year, and I think we were 40 people. And at the last one, we were 300.
And maybe you can say a little bit about what your future expansion plans are and where do you intend to go? I've heard also, we are in Poland right now. What are your plans with regards to the Polish market? Maybe you can reveal
I heard that as well about Poland. I heard that. No, but yeah. When we started, we made a checklist and we made a huge database. We built it up with a lot of quantitative and qualitative data. We basically were putting in, with a lot of research, internal, external research, basically all cities, all countries around the world, to rank them. And then we got a result, and we say, well, there is maybe coming out of the blue, New Zealand and so on is ranked on top because of GDP, because of low theft rate, because of digital affinity and so on. But then we made reality checks. Is it really useful to go maybe after 2 months to New Zealand? Obviously not. So we have a long list of potential cities. One of these playbook that you said, we are kind of doing a funnel approach, how we call it. So we have our expansion team members. We have currently 20 expansion managers. Every expansion manager has kind of a bunch of, or a bucket of cities to approach, to do research about, to talk to the city halls there. And then it comes to the funnel. Once a city says, yes, we want you, you are allowed, and yes, we want you, there's a cooperation with public transport, it becomes reality, and we go there. And this more or less we do also with Poland. We currently talk about Israel. We are thinking about Asia. To be honest, Asia we postponed again because we said we have to focus. This is also something I've learned. We cannot do everything at the same time. So we focus currently on Europe. Israel will be, when it comes to reality by end of this year, the farthest away that we're going to do. So let's say a rough plan is we want to be by end of this year with in 60 cities live, and having another 60 maybe by mid of next year, and Poland would be one of them.
So would be over
beginning
100.
of next year.
Yeah. Okay, cool, great. Yeah, I think still have some time for questions from the audience, if any. So take advantage. Yeah, there's one in the back.
Hi, my name is Natalia. I'm running a marketplace for business catering. It's called Cateringu, and we are now thinking about expansion. So my questions are regarding this topic. One is because you are expanding your business within the cities around Europe. So it's your country and other countries. So I wanted to ask about the differences between expanding internally and externally. And also, the other question is, do you have any 3-5 advices for expansion for a startup that is thinking about it? More universal advices, I guess.
I will start with the second part, and I know me. I will ask you later on what was the first part of the question. No, the second part. Well, the first thing that just comes into my mind is you have to do the trial and error, and this is what we did. We discussed that before briefly when we went outside. Also, our competitors did different strategies than maybe we did. We decided we just do the land grabbing, and we just go abroad, we go to other cities. Well, actually, we started in Vienna. So even though we are a German company, we did our first launch in Vienna. Second ones were in Spain and in Portugal. The reason why not in Germany, because it was basically not allowed to ride a scooter in Germany. So this is why we didn't go to Germany. So it was kind of strange as well to be in a country and don't have a service in your country, but only having service in other countries. So other competitors did their strategy, and again, don't say if that's right or wrong, just different, did the strategy, first took all the structure, they did a huge organigram, they prepared a nice scooter, prepared a nice app, and then went to the expansion. Also very fast from that point of time, but 4 months later than we did. So looking back, I think it was totally the right decision to expand fast and also doing mistakes there. Also going out with a bit more than an MVP as we had in our software without the proper structure in place, because only with that we were able to learn and we were able to improve and learn from those things. I mean, the first launch in Vienna was a disaster. I mean, we lost the scooters because GPS was not correct, software was not. We lost every day many scooters. So, but only with that we were able to learn and we were able to improve. And so, don't know if that's 3 or 5 advices worth this one fact, but this is what I'm fully convinced that only by doing mistakes you can learn from these ones and you can improve. The first one was about internal and external expansion. You mean you don't mean expanding the team internally? You mean with the territory, right? Yeah, as said, actually we started expanding externally and then we did the internal expansion later on.
So just got a question over here. Hi, Joe from ProFounders. My question is kind of how you see the competitive dynamics play out in the long term. Because the land grab phase is kind of now, but do you kind of see, obviously in the ride-hailing market or the food delivery market, there's often when there are a lot of players in one market, it wasn't very profitable for the whole group, and then there was a kind of a division of which geographies people would focus on. Do you see that happening in the scooter market? Or?
Yeah, very, very good question. There is reports saying that 2018 was the year of the rise of the scooter companies, and 2019 should have been, because it was at the beginning of the year of the consolidation of the scooter companies. So far, we haven't seen, was that a sign that we are out of time? So far, we haven't really seen a consolidation. There is one company, Scoot, which was acquired by Bird, so there is really a very small consolidation in place. But I'm fully convinced that there are many small companies which don't have the firepower, and in this case, it's money, because they are not able just to buy scooters. And if you are in a city with 200 scooters, but you have 3 competitors, each and having 1,500 scooters, you're just doing your ride. You just don't doing your rides. You don't do a turnover, and you will disappear. So I'm fully convinced that smaller scooter companies will disappear, and I don't think they're going to be acquired. They're just going to be disappeared. Well, I think I can say that in that round, we also talk to competitors. If it makes sense to consolidate, to join forces, exactly due to that reason. At that point of time, and currently, I think Mathias can confirm that, at that point of time, there are no discussions about, or really, let's say, concrete discussions from big players to merge or to go together. But sooner or later, there are more companies disappearing, as said, small ones before and bigger ones as well, because all of the competitors at the same level where we are, at the same stage, need new money now. So we are all in the same boat. So maybe it's going to be a big one by end of this year, which is going to disappear. Hopefully, it's not us. Yeah, I think that's the answer. Well, maybe adding one thing. In cities, there will also be, let's say, a natural cleanup, because every city sooner or later is going to do a tender, because every city is or will be fed up with so many scooter companies, with so many scooters standing around, and they will take their card of let's do a tender. And then it's going to be the one being best in tenders, having the best offer, the best relationship to a city, best integration into public transport, who going to be the ones that surviving.
Okay, sorry, one last question.
Hi, I'm Mateusz from Sonor Home. I'm curious about the unit economics that you mentioned, that you switched from juicers to employees charging your scooters. I'm curious whether you can see over time the effects of scale and your unit economics might be better than the ones of your competitors?
Also very good question. And this is also the reason why there are so many scooter companies currently, because the unit economics are so easy. It's an easy mathematics that you can do there. So that's saying at the beginning. But then second, yes, we are convinced that by having maybe a daily bit higher cost, we extend our lifetime of the scooters. So you can milk the cow longer, and it pays off the individual cost per scooter per day by having a longer lifetime by the scooters. We have a proven lifetime currently in Vienna. I mean, we said before, I think it was the first week of October when we launched in Vienna, and we're still operating, obviously not all of them, but we're still operating scooters from day one in Vienna, which we deployed there. And if you read in the press that's official and public numbers, there are scooter companies claiming that their lifetime is about 2 to 3 months. And we have proven lifetime currently of 12 months.
Okay, guys, thank you, Philipp and Matthias. We'll have a lunch right now, and we meet again in 45 minutes to listen to Michal Borkowski's speech about Brainly. So let's have a great lunch right now.